I wanted to give you a look at the DumaOS 4 beta for the NetDuma R2. For those unfamiliar, DumaOS 4 is the big revamp of DumaOS that came to the NetDuma R3 that NetDuma said would eventually trickle down to the NetDuma R2, although some of the features may not follow, and that's one of the main reasons to get a NetDuma R3. So this is in beta and has been for a while. There are some issues people are having. In my testing over the last couple weeks, I didn't have any. But that's not to say that there aren't none. I've looked through the forums pretty thoroughly, and there have been a bunch of people with different connections having different issues. So if this is something you want to try, you can always go to the NetDuma forums and ask, but don't be mad if something breaks. Just remember, hey, it's a beta. Things can break, probably will, and I need to report those so that they can fix them before full release. In my opinion, I would just wait for full release, as beta testing can be a bit of a headache if you're not used to it. That said, I just wanted to give everybody a quick look of DumaOS 4 on the R2, and then when it finally is fully released, we'll do the full breakdown, setup, all of that. All right, so if you're already familiar with DumaOS 4 on the NetDuma R3, you're gonna recognize everything already. However, if this is your first time seeing DumaOS 4, this is your home page, which gives you, a little tab here. It says good morning or hi or just different things throughout the day. You get your bandwidth and activity stuff right here, and this shows how much you've been gaming, working, and video activity for the day, your overall usage. I mean, it's all very self-explanatory, which is nice. You can open it up and just see what's going on at a quick glance. Now, if we move over to the Geo-filter, there have been quite a few Geo-filter improvements. Let's start off with Steady Ping. Steady Ping is absolutely awesome once you learn how to use it. There's already a video on my channel discussing how to use Steady Ping properly. Basically, it adds a little bit of latency to your connection so that when a game has a moment where it would normally spike, that buffer that you've added, that little bit of latency that you added, takes that spike and you don't feel it in game. So that's just the basic rundown of how it works, but it's absolutely awesome once you figure it all out. Of course, a lot of the Geo-filter stuff is the same. You got your overall map. Something they've added is you can actually come in here and you can select countries now, which is absolutely awesome. So you can select a country like the United States of America, and if we type in United States real quick, and then that's going to open up this tab, see here, and then we have choices. So we can add like West Coast or take away the West Coast, etc., which is really awesome. If you know where the servers are that you're going to play the vast majority of your games, you can just set this up the way you want to and cover the area you know works best for the games you play. And it's a lot easier than drawing shapes. However, you can still do that as well. You can still come in here and mark a shape if you'd like. All the same stuff is here, but this is really awesome. I'm glad they added this. It helps out a lot when you're playing different games all the time and you want to set things up in different areas and just have more control, because then you don't have to draw everything yourself. It's just done out for you, and it's quite neat. So yeah, the rest of it's basically the same. There are a few other changes on the back end, but again, we'll get into all of that in the full breakdown video. But yeah, that's it's a pretty nifty thing to have this new stuff on the Geo-filter. Steady Ping's a huge, huge, huge piece of tech once you learn how to use it. All right, ping heat map. Hey, you guys are already familiar with this. It's where you can ping your favorite games. It's pretty much exactly the same as it's always been, and no complaints there. SmartBOOST. This is one of the big new features that was tweaked and made even better for DumaOS 4. And so essentially you can come over here and you can just choose your overall activities or devices. Now, personally, I don't use devices. There's a reason for that, and I've already talked about that in a previous video, and I will be going back through all of this in upcoming videos just to, show everybody that, hey, this is the way I like to set everything up. Every connection's different, but there are certain settings that I've found that work the best. So I've got my gaming up top and then video and streaming right below it. Those are the two things in my house that I use the most. And so, of course, I want gaming to be up top because, well, I'm a gamer, and then everything else below that. And of course, you can just kind of add your most favorited things from your group. So if you do a lot of work from home, you can add that as well. Of course, your gaming, live streaming, cloud gaming, etc. Or of course, you can go in and still add individual things. So we can just like choose work from home, and that'll bring down the overall work from home list. And then we can choose like Zoom, for example, and now Zoom is there. So yeah, it's really neat, very easy to use. You don't have to go in and mess with anything else. You just set gaming up top, the other stuff that's high priority below it. And what's great about SmartBOOST is it actually gives just a certain amount of bandwidth to each one of these priorities. That way you're never using too much and everything stays nice and calm on your network. It's an absolutely great feature, and it just takes a little bit of tinkering to get it set up that first time and figure out what's best for your connection. And once you've done that, you can just leave it alone. It's awesome. Network activity is self-explanatory. It's where you see your network activity. Device manager, self-explanatory. It's where you see all your devices. Ad blocker, hey, you guys know about this. You can enable ad blocker and go through and have ads blocked on each one of your devices. You can also add lists to this so that you can have even more control. Now these days, I don't use the DumaOS ad blocker, even though I've been a very big advocate of it being here. I use an outside ad blocker. A video on that will come out eventually. All right, next down is speed test. It's where you can test your speeds. This is a lot more accurate than it was in previous versions. It still needs some work depending on your connection. This is one of those things I saw on the forum, but in my experience, it's a lot more accurate than any previous version. They've tried to rewrite the code on the R2 and the R3 so that speed test and ping optimizer don't have as many issues as previous versions, which is huge because it used to fail out all the time. And in my testing with the R2 and R3, I haven't had it fail in quite a long time. So it's a lot more stable. I'm not saying that you won't have an issue, but in my experience, I didn't. So it's really, really nice to have your ping optimizer here. Of course, you got your advanced settings. Go in and do everything you want here. Super awesome feature. You can get it set up and you're good to go. And then we go into our settings. We got our Wi-Fi, guest Wi-Fi themes, internet rules, LAN, WAN, DHCP, UMP, you know, all the stuff you would expect. We can go into troubleshooting and factory reset, do our telemetry, all of that, go in advanced settings and see how the overall router is running and set up our other stuff. So everything is a lot easier to get to and manage when it comes to DumaOS 4. When you're on your phone and you're playing some games and you're like, hey, I want to adjust my geo-filter or a particular other setting, it's really easy to do. The app is a lot more stable than in years previous. Not to say it's perfect. I'm on Android and it still crashes every now and again. They're aware of that, but in my experience, most of the time I can keep it up for like hours while I'm playing Call of Duty or other games and just have my phone sitting next to me. It doesn't seem to drain the battery or anything. But if you have a lot of problems with the app, of course, you can just log in on your favorite web browser on your phone and just set it next to you. And that works just as well. And the same interface just carries over to your phone and streamlines. So it's super easy to use, making DumaOS just a better experience. So I'm glad this is finally, eventually coming to the R2. They've made it this far. We can see what it looks like. We can see what's going on here. Again, there are bugs on the back end they're working on and fixing. I don't have a time frame as to when they'll release this publicly so that everybody can have their hands on it. My guess is probably not until sometime next year, early-ish, maybe right before summer or something. I don't know. They're working on R3 stuff, they're working on R2 stuff, and there's a lot going on, and it's not a giant team. So we'll just be patient. I'm glad this is happening. It's free for everybody, so you don't have to pay or anything like that. And it's gonna be a big improvement to the NetDuma R2. However, if you wanna upgrade to the NetDuma R3, that's still an option, and there'll be some stuff there that is not gonna come to the NetDuma R2. But we'll talk about all of those things in R3 videos down the road. All right, everybody, I hope this is a helpful video, getting you a quick look at what's going on with DumaOS 4 on the R2. If you liked, disliked, do all the stuff. And until the next time, as always, take it easy.